Pasifika community members in Aotearoa want all political parties to up their commitment to protecting overstayers. Dozens took part in the Savali Olifile Mu March, a peaceful march in central Auckland. Lydia Lewis has the story.
Under grey skies, Pakilau Manasseh Lua clutched the photo of his late father.
Rain or shine, hurricane or storm, we're here. This is for the memory of those that have fallen.
The Tongan community leader walked the street where his ainga was dawn raided alongside survivors. The trauma raw, especially knowing Tongan families are still being visited by compliance officers. They're called out-of-hours compliance visits now, and Immigration New Zealand maintains they're not like the raids of the 1970s. But for Kenny Malier and his wife Meliana, who have lived through a dawn raid, the visits have been traumatising, not only for them but their children too. And while it's no longer illegal to be in New Zealand without a visa, it's still unlawful. A weight Mr Malier wishes Immigration New Zealand would have helped him lift off sooner.
The
hardest thing for me was trying to make sure that I can put a loaf of bread on the table for my children. I hope for the day that I can feel secure and get residence.
Mr Malier is one of 17 Pasifika overstayers who have been visited out of hours since 2015. He was detained earlier this year after police showed up at his home. The early morning raid still vivid in his wife's mind.
Before, I thought that New Zealand protects my children, but when they did the dawn raid and took my husband, my opinion changed.
Mr Malier has since been granted a temporary visa, but he's still on edge as he waits to hear back about residency. This following an independent review of Immigration New Zealand's practices after his case went public. The reviewers say the raids of the 70s were a racist application of New Zealand's law, where officials and police entered homes of Pacific people and dragged them out of their beds, often using dogs and in front of their children. In the immigration officer's view, their visit to Mr Malier was different to what happened in the 1970s, but his lawyer, Soane Foliaki, disagrees.
In the dark of the night, they were back at it, without any considering why did the Prime Minister apologise.
Mr Foliaki says this was the case that was supposed to have ended it all. It hasn't, but after 30 years fighting for justice, he's still got faith.
We always felt that New Zealand's a decent country. They'll always give us a fair go, more than any other country. This is also our home here in New Zealand,
Back at the march, Pakilau looked towards the future.
We've got some work to do. We want an amnesty or pathway to residency for our overstayers now.
An amnesty is something National does not support. Labour has committed to an amnesty of sorts, but Mr Malier's lawyer says lots of good people would miss out. His client Kenny, for example, would not qualify for it if he did not have the work visa because he has not been in the country for more than 10 years.
What they gave wasn't sufficient, wasn't enough, and it wasn't fair or just to the Pacific Island people and other people of the same situation in New Zealand, but it's out of their hands. It's going to be decided, by the voters. I'm not really happy about this at all.
It's unknown exactly how many overstayers are in Aotearoa, but Kenny's lawyer says some simply fall through the cracks for reasons as simple as language barriers. And while those barriers remain, overstayers are paying taxes and do not qualify for health and social services.